I think a lot of people are aware of the privacy concerns, and basically if you've got TikTok on your phone, it can monitor all of your keystrokes forever. And at the end of the day, even though a lot of people don't like that aspect of TikTok, when you look at the number of users, and I think more interestingly, the number of engaged users,
yes,
it's really through the roof on TikTok.
I know cost per click, we were seeing numbers between like 13 cents and 40 cents.
Whoa. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So nice. On Amazon, we're just running ads. On TikTok, you have to pay attention to some demographic considerations. Most of the people on TikTok, most of the users are very young. You might take a brand and you launch them on TikTok Shop and you want to run some ads and you say, what creatives do you have? And they give you all their Instagram creatives, which don't work on TikTok. The moment you look like Instagram is the moment your user checks out. It sure looks like we have a whole generation that is not going anywhere. They are invested in TikTok. That's where they hang out. And where do you sell product? You sell where people are.
Welcome back, everyone, to That Amazon Ads podcast, where today we are going to be talking about TikTok ads, really diving into basically what are the pros and cons of these ads? Are they a good fit for you? And we've got an excellent guest here, Eric Martindale, the founder and CEO of Elite Commerce Group, who has shown himself on LinkedIn to be quite a bit of the expert on TikTok ads, although he'll probably deny that in a second here. But we've, of course, got Andrew, and we're excited for this three-way conversation on TikTok. Andrew, Eric, how you guys both doing?
Guys, thank you for having me.
Yeah, doing good. Transparently, Eric, in internal communications, I've been telling somebody that they need to teach me how to get rich on TikTok Shop for a couple weeks now. So I hope you're that guy. You're going to teach us how to maximize TikTok.
Yep, overnight. We're all getting rich.
Nice.
And also, Andrew, you just sent me that screenshot of a client that we're working on, looking at the branded search volume on Amazon and a clear and substantial spike in branded search volume right at the onset of TikTok ad spend kicking off within the last few weeks.
We'll throw that up on the screen so people can see it.
All right. Yeah, we'll throw that up right now. Yeah. But Eric, would love to get you introduced to everyone, hear about what you do in the Amazon space. But before all that, I think this is extremely fascinating and important. You spent almost 14 years in the Marine Corps. Let's see, I'm looking at your LinkedIn profile, executive officer of the 2nd Battalion of the 2nd Combat Engineer Battalion, commanding officer, engineer support company, 2nd Combat Engineer Battalion, officer instructor, 3 combat tours, a Bronze Star, which if no one knows, that's a medal for heroic achievement. So we have a war hero here in the Amazon e-com space. I would love to hear about that Bronze Star and how you got that.
Oh my gosh. I wasn't expecting that. I'll just say I got that during a deployment to Afghanistan. I don't know how much detail you want me to go into, but it was a campaign award. So we did some things pretty far out away from a support structure. And I don't know how much detail I want to go into, but I mean, it's nothing crazy. It's not like I was a regular Marine. I wasn't like a, spec ops guy, but I don't know, just did what I was told to do and brought everybody home. So kind of lackluster. I know you probably want a story about something crazy, but we did a lot of route clearance. We cleared a lot of, I think the term that everybody knows back here is roadside bombs. We call those IEDs in the military, improvised explosive devices. So we did a lot of that, and then the award was for the entire campaign. So the amount of routes cleared, the amount of explosives removed, things like that.
Awesome, Eric. Well, we're super grateful for your service and just want to thank you for that. Really excited to hear more about TikTok and how sellers on Amazon can use that. Let's dive in.
Well, how did you move from the Marine Corps to now being in the e-com space? I'm curious about that transition.
Yeah, so in the Marine Corps, I had a pretty normal experience. Was in we call the fleet or the operating forces, had the deployments. I was a combat engineer, but I ended up with a really cool opportunity to teach military science at UPenn in Villanova. So, and that's kind of home for me. I'm from Eastern PA, just outside of Philly. Was born in Philly. So I ended up going home, and then I spent 4 years there. So I spent 4 years teaching, and I knew I wanted to transition because I was home. I'd really been gone for well over 14 years. I left for college and never came back. So knew I wanted to get out. I was stable. I worked long hours, but I didn't deploy. I had most of my weekends to work with. So I started experimenting. I knew I wanted to be in some form of commerce. I started experimenting, got myself involved in importing with a company, and I ended up signing an agreement where I had to move a certain amount of product, and I hit a wall. So I turned to Amazon. This would have been 2011 or 12 at this time. I think 2011 is when I officially launched my first Amazon account, and started selling. Make a long story short, I almost was in awe of how easy that was, and then just took off down that road. I had already spent some time on eBay. I think I started on eBay in about 2009, but Amazon, I learned early on that it was much more powerful in a lot of ways. And back then it was, we always call it the Wild Wild West. So I was doing all kinds of crazy stuff. When I realized how well Amazon sold, I would sell for a couple of companies, but then I was also doing crazy things like I would buy DeWalt tools at Lowe's full price and sell them on Amazon for like 100% markup. I was just doing crazy things for a while. That evolved until I want to say my first maybe 7 or 8 accounts were brands that approached me, and I was by myself at the time. Amazon was not what it is now. Nobody really knew how to pull the levers. So I want to say the first 7 or 8 brands approached me, started working with them, and just evolved. Now today we're on 26 platforms, including e-commerce and retail media. So when we get into TikTok, this is where I sort of caveated with, I'd be lying if I told you I was managing every single account on every single platform. So I have some cool things for you guys, but I'm no longer the guy who does turns every single nut on every single platform. But here we are. Yeah, we're, I would say, very much omni-channel.
Yeah, I didn't even know that there were 26 platforms. I thought it was just 3. I thought it was just Amazon, Target, Walmart.
Marketplaces alone, there are a lot. It's just the problem with all of the marketplaces out there is most brands are going to do nothing on them. So if you take a brand, you could take $1 million brand on Amazon and launch it on Macy's.com and it'll do absolutely nothing.
Right. Yep.
It really comes down to what marketplaces are right for what brands at what time.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk about TikTok. We've got a bunch of questions to get through. I'm not even sure where to begin, but I think maybe to start, I would love to hear your experience with the brands you've been working with about TikTok Shop, because this is a relatively new thing, is my understanding, and none of my brands are on TikTok Shop. Can you help us understand what that is, how it works?
Yeah, TikTok Shop is it's TikTok's own marketplace. It's really brand new. Mm-hmm. It almost surprises me when I throw out the date, but I want to say it was officially launched in September. Does that sound right to you guys? September
2023.
Yeah.
It feels like forever ago, but we're talking about 6 months.
6 months, like that. And Facebook doesn't have that, right? This is rather unique.
Well, I believe now that's a marketplace we're not on, but I believe Meta does have a shop, doesn't it? Am I incorrect?
I don't. Well, so let's actually quickly define these terms. When we're talking about shop, do you mean that like TikTok has warehouses and they're fulfilling the orders? Or is this D2C? It's taking traffic to websites.
Yeah, you can look at let's take Amazon where they have where they have a in-house fulfillment solution. Most marketplaces don't. There's still a marketplace. So if you look at Macy's or Kohl's or Kroger or Albertsons, they all have marketplaces. Amazon is really unique in that they have FBA, but there are a couple that have them as well. So Walmart has WFS, Walmart Fulfillment Services. TikTok has a partnership now, and I actually don't know how far along they are with that. I believe is it Deliver? I don't know if that sounds right, but TikTok has been working on an FBA-like solution for a while. Okay. And then they announced, I think in December, that they were going to use a partnership to do that. The brands we're working with are not using that. They're fulfilling just like they would on Shopify. So
got it.
So it's a marketplace. It just, I don't know exactly where they are with fulfillment services.
Got it. So it's more of like a Shopify-esque environment for sellers on TikTok.
Like a FBM, like mostly like fulfilled by merchant, like you're listing on Amazon, but you're fulfilling all the orders from your own warehouses. Yeah.
Yeah, it's where Walmart was a couple of years ago before they launched WFS.
Gotcha. I don't know. I mean, this is stupid of me. I should have opened up my phone before recording this, popping on this episode to actually go through the TikTok shop. I'm not on TikTok though, because I'm I don't know. I'm just not a TikTok guy myself. So, but I should have done that. So,
funny story for you guys. When we started working with TikTok Shop, and I went around and figured out, all right, who's gonna install TikTok on their computer. Everybody was like, I don't want it on my computer. I don't want it on my phone. So we actually used tablets to manage because nobody wanted it on their phone. Really? So so we're not exactly. I'm not going to tell you that I am pro TikTok and rooting for the success of TikTok. I'm pro brand. I'm pro seller, and sellers need to sell where people are buying. So I'm with you. I'm not a TikTok guy either.
Should we ask why?
You could. I'll try not to get overly political, but I don't know. I don't know if I completely trust the politics behind TikTok personally, but it's one of those things. What do we know about Amazon? What do we know about Walmart? Honestly, so sometimes it's the lesser of two evils, and you vote a certain way, and you trust the government to adjudicate things that are not correct, and then for when you're managing a brand, you have a brand that's a client. It's our responsibility to help them sell where it's in their best interest to sell. That's my opinion. But
for sure,
I'm not the guy scrolling TikTok. I'll tell you that much right now.
Yeah,
I don't know if you guys.
I feel you. I'm with you. I usually don't have TikTok downloaded. It's really funny that we're recording this today because one of the clients that I work with just messaged me this morning and was like, "Hey, could you do me a favor and go order something on our TikTok shop so we can check and make sure our fulfillment stuff is working appropriately?" So I literally had to download and set up a TikTok account to go do that for them. So, I mean, I gave in to help out a client, but yeah.
We do what we have to do, right?
Yeah, I think a lot of people are aware of the privacy concerns, and basically if you've got TikTok on your phone, it can monitor all of your keystrokes forever and just, you have no privacy. And so there's a lot of concerns around that. However, so many Americans are so dopamine addicted that they're willing to give up that sacrifice or sacrifice that privacy just in order to get some entertainment out of it. So at the end of the day, even though a lot of people don't like that aspect of TikTok, when you look at the number of users, and I think more interestingly, the number of engaged users, it's really through the roof on TikTok in terms of that engagement, the ability for videos to go viral, as well as, and my understanding, and Eric, I'll let you correct me if I'm wrong here, but from what I've heard, the CPMs on TikTok are substantially lower compared to virtually any other platform, whether you're doing CPMs on Amazon or CPMs on Facebook. And that creates a huge opportunity for ROAS, especially if those conversion rates are also higher relative to other display channels such as Facebook or DSP. So that presents a really big opportunity. Is that correct in my understanding?
Oh yeah, it is super cheap right now. There is.
Could you define that range of the CPMs that you've seen?
I know cost per click. We were seeing numbers between like 13 cents and 40 cents.
Whoa. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So
nice.
Yeah. Now just to caveat it, if everybody's going to run out and dump their life savings into TikTok ads, you still have the a challenge to tackle with conversion. It converts differently. If you on Amazon, we're just running ads. On TikTok, you have to pay attention to some demographic considerations. Most of the people on TikTok, most of the users are very young. So when you start selecting your age demographic, for me, it's 25 to 34 minimum. So the younger users, if you're not careful, you'll advertise a bunch, 40 cents per click, but you'll burn it all away and get no sales. So
yep,
there are some differences in how you convert, the things you have to do to convert with the right customer.
Right. And in terms of those ads that you're running, are they primarily video ads, or how do these ad formats work? I assume they're actually exclusively video ads on TikTok, right?
Yes. Yeah. You're running video ads, and that's an art in and of itself. So, and that's a challenge with brands. So if you might take a brand and you launch them on TikTok Shop and you want to run some ads, and you say, what creatives do you have? And they give you all their Instagram creatives, which don't work on TikTok. So TikTok is its own platform. People use it in different ways, and you really need to be, and this kind of comes back to the question of who should be on TikTok Shop. Well, a brand that's ready to come up with a lot of creative content. So if that's not something that's in your, that's a right now thing for you, it might be time to wait. So when you're running ads, you need to have creatives, and you need to have the right creatives. They need to be really just not even the right creatives for TikTok, but the right creatives for TikTok ads. Mm-hmm. So there's an art there as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe we could dig into that a little bit. And what types of content are you seeing that converts best on TikTok Shop versus what stuff have you seen not work as good, just in terms of creative styles, formats, that type of stuff?
There's a couple of ways to skin the cat, but UGC is one that works really well. If you get a hold of UGC, that can work really well. The challenge is you have to guide the viewer into the sale. So you can have script over top of the content if it's the right content, but if you're creating, which is another way to do this, if you're creating your own content, you want it to be it needs to look native to TikTok. So it's content filmed in the kitchen with the dog, whatever.
Right.
It's the things that people like to view on TikTok. The moment you look like Instagram is the moment your user checks out. So it needs to look native to TikTok. And then if you're creating your own, you need to guide the customer into the sale, guide them into the link, or wherever you're driving traffic. You have to be very clear, you have to be very quick, and you have to be entertaining. So again, there's an art to it.
Yeah. And we just recorded an episode last week with a colleague of ours who's a performance video specialist in the advertising space, especially in the e-com space. And with him, we were mostly talking about sponsored brand video, which is a little bit of a different stage of the funnel.
Yeah.
And so I'd be very curious. We'll have to have him come back on sometime. Also for our listening audience, I don't know the order of these episodes yet, so that one might have already been released. If not, it's coming out in a couple of weeks. But yeah, it'd be great to have him come on again and speak more specifically to these, to have him talk exclusively around TikTok and see what he's been doing there in the past as well.
There's a kind of a rule of thumb, I guess, maybe you might say. I'm not a video creator for anything. We don't create video in our company. We don't make video for Amazon or anything else. So if a brand comes and says, what do I use for TikTok ads? I always direct them to a similar brand that's killing it. So an example might be Rise. Have you guys heard of Rise? RYSE? They're I think they sell like creatine and pre-workout. Yeah. Totally viral on TikTok. Incredible. They're nailing it. So if you wanted to, TikTok ads work the same way as Amazon. It's going to say sponsored in very small print. So if you wanted to figure out what kind of creatives work well, do what do they say? Success leaves clues. Do what successful brands are doing. And I always tell a brand, I say, we'll come up with one, brand in their space, a similar brand that's doing really well. And I'll say, copy that exactly first and then change it. Then make it yours. Figure out exactly what they're doing and then make it yours. And you can't go wrong.
Yeah, that's good.
I believe it was Pablo Picasso that said, good artists copy, great artists steal. So steal those ideas from your competitors. So as far as I understand it, did you have something? Did you want to say something?
I was just going to say, I didn't mean like, obviously we want to, make it ours and not just take somebody else's ad and redo it. But I think using that as a point of departure, to where you kind of come up with your architecture and then you start changing, copy or whatever, you start changing the narrative or whatever. But at least you'll have an architecture that works, is working for somebody.
Yeah. But those are wise words from Picasso, which if anyone doesn't know, he's one of the most successful e-com sellers of all time. So definitely worth giving him a listen.
Sold a lot of paintings. Yep.
Eric, could you speak a little bit to the size of opportunity on TikTok? So I'm curious, when you take brands from Amazon and they move on to TikTok, what's the percentage of sales on TikTok that they see compared to Amazon, maybe within the first 3 months versus other brands that have been there for, well, I guess it's only been 6 months, but.
Super hard to answer that question because the market is massive. So I would say it's almost the same question of what's the opportunity on Amazon, which can be hard to answer. Right. You can look at, all right, what are your monthly searches? Where can you compete? What products can you beat in various ways? TikTok is kind of the same, and it really is going to depend on how aggressive the brand is. It's going to depend on budget, but I would say unless you're super viral and you put everything into it like Rise, it's probably going to be a little smaller than Amazon, but the potential is there. It just takes a lot of different work and a lot of different tools. You can master Amazon with a very small amount of video. On TikTok, you have to be video centric. Mm-hmm. So you can easily do tens of thousands of dollars a month. It just depends on how aggressive you are and how much of a focus it is. It's not one of those things. I always say this to our brands. It's not one of those things where a brand wants to just hand it off to an agency and say, run some ads and give me an account the size of Amazon. It needs to be a focus if you want it to be a big channel.
Yeah.
So Eric, correct me if I'm wrong. It sounds like you can run ads on TikTok, but you can direct that traffic to different places, whether it be to your TikTok shop, to your D2C website, to Amazon directly, or to other channels directly. What works best for TikTok? Is it working within the platform, trying to just like get sales through TikTok shop? Or is it, driving directly to Amazon and utilizing that attention that's on TikTok to bring some additional traffic over to another platform or to your website? How are brands typically finding success with these TikTok ads? Is it with TikTok Shop or is it pointing to these other channels?
I'm going to use a baseball analogy. I hate watching baseball, but I think personally, TikTok is akin to email. When you guys have probably experienced this where a brand will come to you and you're trying to grow their Amazon and you want them to drive email traffic and they don't want to do it. Their email is just for D2C, which makes a ton of sense. But back to the baseball analogy, the way I would look at TikTok is the same as email, where if you have a man on third, hit toward first to bring the man home. If you have a man on first, hit toward third to, advance him to second or her. So if TikTok can give you different things, I think if this is purely you want to build and you want profitability, you drive the TikTok shop. It is much easier when you start looking at Amazon. We have had to change how we do things so many times because of the way TikTok treats external links.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, the value of driving to Amazon is totally different. The value to driving to Amazon is about your Amazon account, not about your TikTok sales. And, Amazon loves off-platform traffic. We could probably, talk about that. That's a whole different episode. So I would say, to answer your question, TikTok Shop is great to build out a new marketplace. It's great. Your margins are going to be better there. It's great for building out a channel that is most likely to grow in the future. So if you're planting seeds for the future, I think that's a really good one to put some effort into. But to drive some TikTok ad traffic to Amazon, that's about your Amazon account. And it's super valuable, in my opinion.
Yeah, totally. That makes sense. I was also curious about like the conversion differences, because I know with like TikTok Shop, there's shipping included and things like that could potentially disrupt conversions. I also saw that they were doing a little 30% discount incentive on TikTok Shop. So maybe they're trying to offset some of that conversion difference. Just curious if you've seen any like lower conversion rates on TikTok Shop versus kind of what you're seeing on other platforms, even D2C potentially. But yeah, curious to hear that too.
Yeah, I think that's definitely the case. And, remember TikTok Shop's like 6 months old. So
right.
It has been a mad scramble here. I think at some point, I'm going to come back to this, but I think at some point you guys have Paul Harvey on. He is like the TikTok. He's like straight TikTok, and he's super smart. But for us, we've had to be all over the place as things have changed, and we're trying to develop this ourselves, as I think a lot of agencies and brands are. But conversion in the beginning was really poor, which was okay because the cost per click was very low, so you could afford to convert at a lower rate. But there are, when you start playing with demographics and how you target, hashtags are going to be much more precise. But as you start to weed out your younger demographic, you might not get enough impressions. So there's a sweet spot there. And again, just like creatives, or video, there's kind of an art to targeting to try to get, increased conversion. So that's been a work in progress. I would say generally it's going to be lower for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you were running TikTok ads for brands before the advent of TikTok Shop. Is that correct?
We started, it was last year. It was certainly before we had our first brand on TikTok Shop. Mm-hmm. So it was, I think, last summer when we started doing that. It was pretty new, and ads have been around for a little longer than that.
Yeah. And for that brand, you were running ads to their D2C site?
To Amazon. Back then,
it was to Amazon.
You could link to Amazon back then. You can't now. So,
because I'd be very curious to see if, previously people were running traffic to the D2C site. And then I was wondering if right when TikTok Shop came out, if TikTok suddenly started penalizing all of the other ads by charging them higher CPMs or CPCs for the, if you're driving traffic away from TikTok to try to encourage everyone to get on to TikTok Shop so that they can charge those platform fees.
That's a good question, because the costs have gone up over the last 9-10 months, just with I think with everybody rushing to TikTok Shop. It'd be hard for me the timing sounds right. It'd be hard, for me personally to tell you that's exactly what it was. It makes sense. That's what marketplaces do. So
yeah. Have you, whenever you're running traffic to Amazon, I'm guessing you're using attribution links to measure the effectiveness of those ads at producing conversions and things like that?
Yeah, Amazon attribution. I don't know if I'm in good company here, but I think it sucks. So, do you guys have a different experience?
I've only used it a little bit, so I don't have like a real strong opinion one way or the other. I just always, like you mentioned before, a lot of brands don't necessarily encourage sending, Google traffic to Amazon just because they'd rather send it to their website where they have much better margins. So I haven't dealt with it a ton, but I know there are brands out there that use it a lot. And I was just curious if you had used it, maybe we could get a better opinion on the effectiveness of it and that type of thing.
So we have, and we're generally not now. It's not very good. You're not getting attribution for everything for sure. And what's interesting, I think branded search is a better tool to look at. Mm-hmm. We certainly see that. You guys mentioned that, and we certainly see that spike. But what's really interesting is we'll see a spike in overall sales that comes after a campaign, whether it's an influencer campaign, which is really makes me skeptical, because you might look at when you have maybe a campaign or you increase ads, and what Amazon shows you versus what you see doesn't necessarily line up. So I don't really trust attribution a lot. I think it's worth doing for a brand, but I think sales. I honestly think sales is a good metric, probably the best, and then branded search. Just watching branded search spikes.
Yeah, definitely love that branded search traffic. Making sure we keep it on that, and then so basically, you don't necessarily have to drive or through attribution links in order to see that comparison. Obviously, there's going to be you'll see the change in your sales. Do you typically see kind of if you're not running directly to Amazon, do you see kind of a halo effect of sales? Like when you're running a lot of media on TikTok for a brand, do you see some of that trickle over maybe indirectly to Amazon as well?
Yes. So as an omni-channel guy, I think I'm a huge proponent of looking at halo in general. So you guys might see this too, but we'll see halo when a brand launches in retail. We'll see halo on Amazon or whatever. We certainly see that on TikTok. I think it's more clear with an influencer campaign, and we'll work with a brand when they have an influencer campaign, but we're not like an influencer agency or anything like that. But we definitely will see a spike on Amazon when there's an influencer campaign that drives to Shopify or TikTok Shop, which I think is really cool. So for sure, we see halo. Yeah. One other thing I want to mention is one of the challenges to driving traffic from TikTok to Amazon is how do you link to Amazon? And directly you can't. And that's been a journey. If you were to go back 6-9 months ago, you could link directly to Amazon, and then you would link in your bio. Once external links to Amazon were restricted, you would link in your bio or link in the comments, and then it started looking like your creatives will be suppressed. So one of the ways to get that done now, and I think a pretty good way, is to use a landing page like Landing Cube, and you're actually driving to a link where TikTok doesn't know that your customer is going to end up at Amazon. And if you drive to a landing page, there are plenty of good options out there where they'll collect your email. They'll even retarget. You can select options where you can retarget and ask for a review. But it is a really good way of getting around those external link restrictions. And I don't actually know how TikTok is going to solve that problem. So you get tons of benefit from that, aside from getting through the ban on external links, like collection of emails and things like that. So
yeah, I didn't even think about the retargeting capabilities.
What was that? Can you say that again?
Yeah, sorry, Andrew, you go ahead. I'm lagging. Pedro, cut out whatever I just said, and we'll just let Andrew speak here.
Eric, that sounds a lot like Amazon back in like 2015. You were using Facebook ads to drive to Landing Cube or a landing page where you could get some customer info, deliver coupons, discount codes, and all that type of stuff. Is that kind of the new frontier here? Like this is just TikTok version of that instead of Facebook? We just found a cheaper way to drive that traffic, and we have to find that intermediary?
Yeah, and you'd be a lot more experienced in that than I am. So I haven't used that before TikTok, but my understanding is it's really the same thing.
Yeah, that used to be a big thing. Like whenever you first launched products, this was like a strategy. You'd run Facebook ads to that landing page, get an opt-in, and then you have number one, you get customer data, which you usually don't get on Amazon anyway. So it's like number one, you capture that for remarketing and repurposing and remarketing those audiences. And then there was some things where you could like add in like a keyword to the link, and you could get some additional rank benefit, like as if that sale came through a particular keyword or things like that. So this sounds very similar to that, in that, you know, Amazon didn't let you capture customer data in between from Facebook to Amazon, but we found that little middle ground that we could do that. TikTok's banning links to Amazon altogether, so we have to find that intermediary there to kind of find the way around that. But that's pretty interesting to hear.
Yep. I also good little hack, and I think that one's going to stick around for a while.
Nice.
Yeah, and I've heard some negative things around link trees. You know, but a lot of times people in their bio, instead of having a link to there, they'd have a link tree, which is basically just like a landing page that just has multiple links where people can say, I want to go to the D2C side, I want to go to this thing, or I want to jump to their Instagram, whatever. And I've heard some negative things around that because there's so many calls to action. It's better to just have one. But I would say definitely worth testing and utilizing a link tree as well, maybe.
Yeah, that's something I've heard some buzz about that as well, and I haven't tested it, but I think that would be really good. That'd be really good to test and see if that's effective or not. It's going to be a lot easier, I think, than setting up a landing page.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, when it comes to things like this, and this is like getting really into super advanced marketing and statistics that Andrew and I are ill-equipped to speak to, but
you're going to lose me here. You'll lose me too, but we'll give it a shot.
I mean, so Andrew and I have worked with some large brands and some large teams that have entire analytics teams within these teams. And a couple of things that we've done in the past for brand. Now, these are brands that are spending, you know, millions of dollars a month in ads on all these channels. And when you're spending that much, especially on like TikTok, usually, or you're putting all that money into Facebook or TikTok ads, and all that traffic is going to your D2C website. And you can see that traffic, you can see how many sales are coming from your D2C website. But then there's obviously a big brand lift on Amazon, where all those additional search volumes come through. And so to really measure the ROAS on that media spend, it's not just, you're not only just looking at the ROAS directly from your D2C, but you're also trying to factor in what percent of that branded search volume came from that. And there's so many other variables at play, like what was the movement on the ad spend on Amazon versus was there seasonality involved? And so that's where things get into, there's two different models that we've done in the past with brands. There's the response model, which frankly, I still don't really fully understand how that one works. It's something to do with like analyzing the diminishing returns curve on ROAS to determine between your different tactics, whether it's like how much more can you put into brand versus non-brand versus competitor product targeting before you start seeing these diminishing return curves. And then there's the mixed marketing model, which is a little bit more sophisticated, which is an omni-channel approach that measures out of all the impressions and clicks that you're getting on all this advertising, how does it influence everything? And unfortunately, these models are extremely complicated to build and require a pretty thorough understanding of statistical analysis. And I was just thinking, Andrew, this would be a good endeavor for you and I to try to do a very poorly built MMM, mixed marketing model. And we'll just go to ChatGPT and just have it coach us through how to build it. But I think that could be a really interesting episode, because when it comes to things like this, where you're seeing you put a ton of money into TikTok and then you see a massive influx of branded search volume, I think it's very important to be able to analyze that all in order to really see the efficiency and get a good understanding of like, is TikTok for you?
I think based on what you guys did with Ad Labs, if you could systematize something like that and make it, obviously right now that's a big brand thing to do. Right. But if you can systematize something like that, I think it's extremely powerful.
Yep, would be cool. I don't know we'll chat offline about that one.
Yeah.
You guys can follow up with us. Say, ask for the episode on mixed marketing models.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll let you guys sort that out, and I'll just wait. I'll wait for the video.
Yeah.
So you're also running Facebook ads, or I think maybe you said you weren't for your clients.
No, we're not doing Facebook ads. Do you guys run Facebook ads for accounts?
Andrew does, I thought. No? Okay.
I have in the past. It was more so I got my start kind of in social media back like in college. That's where I got started. I was doing social media ads for local companies and just helping them get new visitors in stores, new people coming into coffee shops, coming into restaurants, all that type of stuff. So that was my experience more on like a local level, not so much like an e-com, like, that kind of level.
For geo targeting can be really powerful for that.
Yeah, 100%. That's one of those things where I think that it's gotten so competitive that I personally haven't wanted to get into it, because I think, had we gotten into it in 2016 or something like that, great. But I think it's so competitive, and you have to be so good at it right now. I think we'll leave that to those agencies that have been doing it for the last 7 years.
Right. Yeah. And man, I wish we would have said that at the beginning, because that would have been we should, not everybody always makes it to the end of these episodes or they'll have to come back. But yeah, that would have been great to ask, why you're not running on Facebook towards the beginning, to let everyone know. But yeah, I do think that's good to know, because a lot of the brands that I'm working with are really trying to get onto Facebook, and they're like, we should be doing some expansion there. And yeah, I mean, that space is just like so competitive. And I think you said it well, where basically, unless if you're really specialized in Facebook performance and conversion, it's going to be very expensive CPMs, and you're likely not going to be profitable on it.
100%. I get that question a lot. Will you guys manage our Facebook ads? And somebody will say, well, you work on belk.com, but you won't work on Facebook. Yes, but the bar's not so high on Belk. So.
And then earlier, Eric, you mentioned AdLabs. You are an AdLabs user. Would you mind letting everyone know about your experience in case any of our listeners haven't yet tested out our bid optimizer for Amazon?
Yeah. Well, I was hoping to keep this a secret for as long as possible, but I knew it was going to come out eventually. I think it was one of your earlier. I think you were the very first user to ever join the waitlist. Before we were just building our website, and you had reached out to me. You're like, "Hey, what's the status on this?" And I sent you the link before it was ever public. So you were the number one first name on the waitlist. Awesome.
And then probably number 3 onboarded onto the app.
Oh, cool. All right. So I'm a pioneer.
Yep.
Well, my experience was. We have a couple of people that manage Amazon ads here, and I took I think one account at first, and I don't want to say I didn't. It wasn't that I didn't trust it. I wasn't sure what to do with it, and I think I thought it was more complicated than it was. So it turned out it was super simple. I think the second time I spoke to you, Stephen, I walked away thinking, oh, this is way, way easier. I'm overcomplicating this. And so then I threw a couple other brands in there, and I'm about to use it for more in short time. But it is an enormous time savings for sure, especially now that you guys have video and display, right?
Yep.
I'm pretty sure you guys, that's only a couple weeks old, right?
Yep.
So now there's still some work, obviously, that has to be done running negative search terms and things like that. But the batching that is possible now through AdLabs is incredible. It is a massive time savings. Your math is on point. It works. So I'm a huge proponent of AdLabs, and I think there's going to come a point where everyone's on AdLabs. Personally, I hope I get a little time before that happens, but it's going to blow up.
Yep. Yeah, we're still in beta, still building keyword harvesting, negative keywords, all that stuff on the way. But right now we're purely a bid optimizer to basically just to somewhat automate. It's this hybrid auto manual approach to bidding. We basically just calculate all the bids based off of everything we've taught you guys in previous episodes on this podcast. But we don't push those through until you get the chance yourself to go through and QA it and push it through. So if anyone didn't know, go check it out. There's a free version as well. So definitely worth testing. Any final kind of parting thoughts on TikTok, Amazon ads, and something else that we've been asking guests lately that, I don't know. I really like this question, but I ask everybody, what's the that took you way too long to learn that you wished you would have learned sooner?
There's so many. I'm a pretty stubborn guy. I'm a slow learner, but when it comes to TikTok, again, I'm not pro TikTok. I am Omni-Channel to my core. Mm-hmm. And what I think some of the hesitancy with not just TikTok, but other platforms is I don't like TikTok and therefore it's not going to work. It's not going to catch on. What I think we have to make sense of here and be honest about is what does the next demographic think? And if you look at Gen Z, everybody, I keep hearing things like Gen Z is, they're all kids. Half of Gen Z are adults. I think that goes up to age 27 now, something like that. So what is Gen Z doing? How do they spend their time? Are they converting to Amazon? They're not. They're doing their product research in TikTok the way that we do in Amazon. So I'm not making any prediction. I'm not saying that TikTok Shop is the next Amazon, but what I am saying is it sure looks like we have a whole generation that is not going anywhere. They are invested in TikTok. That's where they hang out. And where do you sell product? You sell where people are. So I think TikTok and TikTok Shop are something worth investing at least a little bit of time and resources in.
One final question. Is Elite Commerce Group taking on new clients? Is that something, if people are interested in having you help them make this transition to TikTok, should they get in touch with you?
Yeah, 100%. We're taking on new clients. You can reach me at eric@elitecommerce.com or Eric Martindale on LinkedIn, or look us up at elitecommercegroup.com.
Awesome. So yeah, so that was your direct email address, right? That you just mentioned?
Yes. Yep.
Cool. So yeah, we'll put that email address along with your LinkedIn URL and link to your website. So if anyone wants more information, get in touch with Eric. You can get that contact info. All right, Andrew. Go ahead.
Right. Now we'll see you next week on That Amazon Ads Podcast.
See you guys.
Thank you, guys.